Hello, welcome to Color Me Happy Community. My name is Brandy Hofer, your host. Thank you so much for being here. I sure do appreciate your time. If you're just catching up, I am a artist, muralist, author, educator. It seems weird to fit author into that sentence now. But I gotta own it because our book is out and there are some crazy, amazing women already posting about it online. And it's actually probably the scariest step of this whole process is, people taking pictures and being like, this is so hilarious. And then posting about it like I'm traveling and reading Brandy's book. And it's so weird. But it's something I have to get used to, I suppose, because there's just bits and pieces of my life, and I feel so exposed. So, but I wanted to be authentic and raw and vulnerable. So this is just part of it, I guess. And the page that this one amazing woman had open was a very embarrassing story. So yes, I feel my cheeks heating up just thinking about it, but I did tell the story in my book. So there are parts of my book that will make you laugh, but also cry really hard. And I'm sorry, kind of, but not, because they make you feel a certain way to inspire you and to see your everyday ordinary as extraordinary. And that was the whole purpose of writing it, is so we know and we can experience and live our lives, keeping in mind that time is our most precious commodity. And I witness it every day. I witness it every day in my growing children. And Gus is 8, and so then he's going to start acting like a preteen soon, and I just want my baby back. And they're so sweet and amazing, and I'm sure you feel that way about your family at any stage, even when you're thinking about your parents and how much time you have with them and how much you appreciate them, or want to be a part of their lives in a different way, or whatever your story is. That is the idea of the book, is to live your life on a whole level, like your whole being and your whole self being present in the moment. And even though some moments suck, some are better than others, but to honor it and roll with it. And yeah, it was really special. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat that it's like out and in people's hands, which was scary because I for years I avoided anything where I could make a mistake or be vulnerable. So email lists, marketing, important ways to grow your business. I avoided them because of fear of making a mistake. And so nothing will ever be perfect. And you just have to let it go. You can try your best, that's for sure. And that's actually a chapter in my book about trying your best. And that's what my mom always used to say to me. Because I was never a perfect student. It was just not my thing. I have trouble, I'm a creative, so it kind of makes sense. Like, I have trouble paying attention where my interests don't lie. So that's just part of my personality. So sitting through math was like a different kind of torture for me. Now I love math and statistics. Well, kind of, not really. I hire someone to be more into it than I am. And because that's their thing. They love it. It's and that's okay. So anyway, where was I going with that? I don't know. Oh, my mom and scores and test scores in school. So I would always come home like just slightly above average because I'm type A. So I try really fucking hard. Oh, Siri, she thought I was talking to her and she stopped my recording. Okay, so I would always come home head down really hard, like ashamed, because this is, if, you're type A, like a mistake or being, someone told you weren't good enough, like that is like shameful. You feel embarrassed and tried and I still didn't succeed because I couldn't. There was just, and she would just say, because I think she knew I was different, and she saw how my mind worked, and she saw where my strengths were and where I thrived. And because you love your children, that's what you see, and you try your darndest to encourage them the best you can, and you never want to see them hurt. So she saw that in me, and she said, finally one day, well, the best I can remember is she said, "Did you try your best?" And I was like, "Yeah, I studied. I did. Like, I tried to figure it out. Like, you know." And she said, "That's all I can ask of you, as long as you're trying your best." And like at the time, I was like, I just got out of something major. Like, I only got a 75 on that test, and she just let it go. I'm just going to walk away. But it's just a perfect example of, finding the areas where you thrive and kind of capitalizing on it. And then if you can't figure the other things out, find the people who can support you and will make it happen for you. And I'm kind of at that stage right now where I'm growing and expanding and surrounding myself with amazing women who are kind of like coaching me through it. They're like, "That's great, Brandy, but where is that going anyways? Why are you doing it?" Because I love creating things. Like, okay, you've written a book. Now what? What's your plan? And I'm like, well, it was really fun to write a book and make the cover and see people reading it. And they're like, okay, now what? And I don't think like that. I'm like, I just want to make people feel good. That's what. They're like, well, if you want your business to grow, you have to think about more than that. So I'm learning, and it's pretty cool and fun. I won't talk too long because this conversation I had with Jenna, who is a fellow artist, and I didn't know going into this conversation that she has been following me for such a long time. And I also didn't know that I inspired her to discover or rediscover her creative self. So this conversation it's a long one, but it's just, you won't know. Like, time will just pass because I actually cut 35% of this podcast down. So it was just one of those connections where you make with people where you don't realize that time is passing. So I feel like you'll feel that when you listen to it. And Jenna is just so raw and real and amazing and fun. And you'll really love this one. We chat, we get geeky about process, obviously. If you're an artist or a mother, you'll dig this episode. Like we start off, of course, just saying everything we feel about our days. So you'll really love it because I'm sure you're feeling the same things too. And I know you are because I see my stats on my podcast. I know who you are. It's mostly women, and it's probably mostly creative mothers or business-minded mothers who are at home with young people, or love that season of life and are inspired by this podcast. So I will let you dive in. Thank you for being here. I sure do appreciate it. And if you haven't gotten our new book yet, feel free to check it out because it's seriously just like this, really raw, vulnerable, and you'll have fun. It's easy. It's an easy thing. Even if you're not that into reading or audiobooks, the book comes with an audiobook download. And yeah, this is a pretty cool journey. So always message me, always reach out. I'm happy to hear from you, hear what you think. And if it's nice, please don't please don't bother if you feel the opposite. It's kindness takes less energy. That is a chapter in our book. And we talk all about what you put out, what you get back in return. And we're not always perfect. So if I make you feel a certain way, just write it down and don't send it to me. But if I make you feel a really great way, I'm happy to hear it. Who doesn't love to hear positive things? And it's a positive experience having you here and sharing everything with you. And be sure to check out Jenna. She is she's just on her beginning of her artistic journey with sharing who she is as an artist and a mother, and she's just starting to show up. So be sure to show her some support on Instagram, and you can find that all in the show notes. Why I stopped, because I couldn't really notice the difference between like a huge one. I edit my own, but I get it. You're supposed to use a mic and all this stuff. I mainly stopped because it picks up so much that I can hear my kids in the earphones, and it's more distracting because it hears like better than my human ears.
That makes sense.
Slash whatever I channel out in like selective hearing.
Yeah.
To just deal with my day. I actually, and I don't know if this is a good parenting move or like a bad one, but I'm just adjusting my computer while I talk. But I did see a woman like advise parents to do it because like sensory wise, by like 4 or 5 o'clock, we start losing our minds and like being kind of mean because like it's just too much all the time. So I've started putting in my AirPods while I make dinner, and like they do their quiet time, and I like make dinner, but don't listen to them if they're like fighting or whatever they're doing. I just put Grey's Anatomy in. Because like at that point, like normally when I put my AirPods on, I'm like, I am listening to like Jenna Deibel and I'm learning things, but like I'm so shut down by 4 o'clock that I'm just like, oh, if I could just do, you know, this.
That's how I always feel.
If I could just focus on surgery with the Grey's Anatomy team, I'm like there.
Oh my, that makes me want to get started with Grey's again. I watched like 12 seasons religiously, and then I fell out of it. And I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's such a dedication to get back in.
Right? I actually, so this is a real treat. I actually stopped after the plane crash. So that was like season
What time ago?
5, and we're older now. It's like what, 20? It's like season 20. And my studio manager told me that. And I was like, no way, we're not. I remember when it began. There's no way. And she's like, yep.
Whoever is in the show anymore, I probably wouldn't know.
No.
Past.
My students started talking about Derek Shepherd and how they drew him, and I was like, you watch it? I'm like, one was like, I was born in, what did she say?
Oh my gosh.
She was like 2010 or something. I was like, what? I'm like, what year is it? You were 12. That makes sense. Oh my gosh, I feel super, we're not old, but
I know, I just
older.
So
we're old to them.
I turned 32 in August, and I don't know, a couple months ago, not long after my birthday, I was sitting at the table with my husband, and we were talking about age, and I was like, wow, you're going to be 34 this year. He was like, no. It's like, I'm 2 years older than you. I was like, I lost a period of time. Like, my mind was like, wait, how old am I? Like,
yeah, you just kind of stop. You're like, I'm around here.
I think I just thought 31 again. Did I think I was 30 before?
Yeah. I feel like it's just like, and I saw my friend in this shoe store today, and she's like, I slipped and fell on the ice. Like, these are things we have to start thinking about. Like, we could seriously injure ourselves, like in a big way. And it's a huge deal because we can't be out of the game because we can't like break our legs or sprain our ankles or
rely on us,
like, or break your hip. Like
I injured my neck years ago, and in the past like handful of years, and I need to go deal with it. But I randomly, it's very random, end up having like inflammation in my neck and getting a pinched nerve where I can barely move, and it's still both my kids like, pick me up, do this, do that. I'm like, I can't really feel my arms right now.
My fingers aren't touching together quite like they used to, and it's actually when it's C3 to C5 in like your spinal columns, it can affect your fine motor skills. It's a true thing. What did I do? I think I fell asleep on the plane wrong to Montreal when I was doing an artist residency there. And then and for 6 months I couldn't play guitar, and I haven't really played guitar since because I just like stopped and whatever, and I prioritized. I was like, I have to choose. Like, clearly, I'm not going to like pursue music. I'm
semi-okay at it. I love singing, but I definitely like art as my career. So what am I going to do in the evenings? Especially once you have kids, you're like, I have to pick. So, when I'm like older, I will, again, I want to like record. My sister's a musician and so is my brother. I'm like, I want like to just sit down and record one time, which is a secret. No one knows that.
That would be so fun.
Yeah.
Some of those things you have to look forward to.
I'm not like a great singer, but I'm like okay enough.
Yeah.
And okay enough singers can make songs. And
not okay enough singers make songs.
Yeah. Like I'm not like a big vocalist, but like I write really good poetry and those can be
That's
songs,
amazing.
right? Like
yeah.
That's easy. Well, I find it easy, but I don't have time right now.
Yeah.
I'm not making time. I have time. I'm not making it. Anyway, welcome, Jenna. Jenna, how do you say your last name properly?
Deibel.
Deibel. See, I would have fucked that up.
Yeah, everyone does.
I know people, some, and kindly, I'm thankful, are like reviewing or not reviewing, but being like, this is a book and you should get it. And they're all saying my name wrong. And I'm like, oh, well.
I always say Hofer.
Yeah, it's Hofer. But like, I like everyone does it. So Deibel. Did I say it? Deibel. Yeah. Okay, Deibel. It's beautiful. People say Deibel, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then there's some like bizarre ones where I'm like, how did you even get there?
Deibel.
But I don't care.
Like an extra.
I do that all the time. I'm horrible at pronouncing anything, so I take no offense.
I get really uncomfortable and sweaty about names specifically.
I'm bad with faces and names.
Oh no,
I don't have either.
I'm really
if something is even slightly out of context, I like run into them at a store, but I know them from somewhere else. I'm just like, I got nothing.
Yeah, actually, the shoe store woman's like, well, Brownie, I don't know if we have anything in the system. I was like, who are you? I felt terrible. And she's like, I work over here. So if we were there, you probably would have recognized me. I'm like, oh yeah, sorry.
I can always tell.
But I felt bad because usually I'm like all right with faces, just not names. And that really sucked for student reviews because I was like, I don't know who this is for a second. So I actually had taken all their photographs for one of our collage projects. And I sat there and figured out whose name to his face so I could write them. Because I felt terrible. It's not my fault. It is the made up names of clearly the people who were born in the 2010 era. They're made up and they're not like Jenna or Amy or Ashley or any names that kind of went into that. Like everyone for a while there was like, I feel like being really super unique and it will be Hannibal Lee or something like. And it's like, that's not a name. That's not a name. I can't do it.
I could not have students, and the first thing I'd say is like, take no offense to me. Like, I love you, but this is going to be really bad.
Yeah. Teachers are amazing. I like, and then plus the parents' names and whatever. Wow. Okay. Sorry.
Teachers just like names of parents and everybody like, hi, blah blah blah.
They are so special, but they also have had some practice. Like this is my first go at
train that part of your brain.
Yeah, I don't know. I got to get a trick in there. I feel like if you use the trick, or take attendance and just really work at it, they're just probably like, this lady is pathetic. I even had them make art shirts with their name on it so I could like be like, then I don't feel bad if they wear these shirts. I can just look at the shirt with the name and know it. And then they didn't consistently wear them. And I was like, darn.
So I tell myself, I'm like, you know, half of them are probably bad at it too and understanding more than I realize. That's what I tell myself.
My teacher helper, he's like, if that's your biggest flaw, you're good. You're
true.
Fine. I'm like, okay, that's a positive way of looking at it. Okay, welcome. So Jenna, you are a practicing studio artist, and you also are you full-time at home too?
Yes.
Full-time I'm like mama.
Very full-time mama. I have a 1-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy, and trying to just find myself in my art. I have still searching, still learning. but took the plunge.
Yeah. Yeah. So when
Chasing
did you decide to like keep going with it?
So I actually never, I don't have any art education, like high school art, and maybe a couple classes I took in community college 10, 12 years ago. Um, so it was after my son was born, and he was about 1. And before he was born, I was working as an interior designer. That's what I ended up with my degree in. And after that, we got him in daycare. He started daycare, and like 3 days in, I walked in early and was able to like see through the room, and it was the infant class. It was like the 6-week to 1-year-old class. And there was a teacher, whatever you call her, like holding a baby down to the changing table, like screaming in her face, this like 4-month-old. And I was just like, I didn't want to do it anyway, but I was like, I need to go back to work. I felt this huge conflict in myself. And so I'm like seeing this and hearing it through a door that has like a big glass window. And by the time I get in that room, I am just like shaking. Like I couldn't even speak. And I go to get my son, and there's 2 teachers sitting in rocking chairs on their cell phones. And this was the highest rated place in Pennsylvania where we lived, other than the university daycare that like only professors could afford. So I was like expecting good things. So anyway, long story short, I like went and got him and pulled him out of daycare. And I was like, I can't go back to work. Like there's nowhere else that we can afford that has it. Like if this was bad, I'm not going anywhere else. So at that point it was stay-at-home mom. And I was really conflicted with this feeling of like, I should love this. And that, like my sisters do it and they love it. And my mom was like, no, this is what you need to do. And part of me was like, no, I need to do something for me too. And I struggled so hard with it. And then it was like something random that came in my email because I always wanted to do art. I like finally ended up in interior design. So it was like the closest thing I could do and get support from my family, because no, we're not going to help you go to art school, unfortunately. So I started psychology, ended in interior design. And somehow on my email, I got this thing. It was like the Brooklyn Sketchbook Project. Have you ever heard of it?
Cool. I've heard of a few, but I haven't ever like personally done any.
It was pretty fun, and it was like
I just decided to start one without. I've heard of them. I haven't joined any.
It was like the one thing where I was like, okay, this gives me something to do. I want to do art. But I hadn't done anything in years. I was like, well, I don't know if I'm any good. So I picked this project up, and it was like you submit, I don't know, like they give you like a little sketchbook. It was probably like 3 inches by 4 inches. I mean, it was tiny. And I filled out the sketchbook and sent it in, and I was like, wow, I could do this. Like I could stay home and I don't know what I'm doing, but I can take the time to learn. And so this is when I came across you. So I got back on social media. I was completely dark for a while. I've never liked technology or so awkward on social media. I just like it fights me.
You're doing great. I think you're doing amazing. Yeah.
Every time I do it, I'm like,
yeah. I hear you. I remember when I started showing up, like I wouldn't show my face. Like it was more photo based then.
And then reels became like important.
Yeah. Well, moms, mostly I would say started reacting to me showing up disgusting, right? In my stories or when reels started, and I made so many mistakes that I just made a joke about it. Like I called it, Friday night F-ups. So like every week I would just have me fucking up reels because that's all I could pull off. Like I think one, and they are funny. They're old. Like
I remember watching
to my Instagram, like for some reason I'd start talking about like kangaroos, and it was just like then my mind would catch up with my mouth, and I was like, kangaroo? And like I would just get so nervous. Now I'm obviously not super great, but like much better because you sit with people on podcast and you do the stuff and it just becomes like you just numb up a little bit. And at first it's just like and yes, I would never ever go live or do anything on camera. Like, and then moms just like really were like, oh, did you see Brownie in her like ponytail? She looked exhausted and she showed up anyway and she was funny. And then I'm like, if I can make people feel good, why not? If I can make another mother decide to well, you picked up a brush. Like that's incredible. And
From my mental sanity.
yeah. And then you know what it is? It's you have something for you.
Yeah. I
Something
felt
that's
my own
yours.
identity. And my baby was, 6 months old by this point. I was the first time mom. So for it to feel that way so quick, like I felt my identity just get this gap in it. And then you get the mom shame and the mom guilt because it's like, well, you shouldn't feel that because you have this child to fill it. And it was like, well, who am I?
Yeah.
And I don't want to ever stop growing as a mother and an individual and a woman. And I want to be someone my kids can go through life looking at and thinking like, wow, like I'm proud of you. You give me inspiration and you did this when things were hard. Like I want to do that for my kids and other people.
Need to be happy too. Like you need to have your thing. Like you maybe not everyone does. Maybe your thing is being a stay-at-home parent.
Yeah, and that's okay. Too. That's amazing.
Yeah, but that is not. You know what? I did it for like by year 8 or 7. I was like, okay,
need something.
I was being a studio artist the whole time, but I was like, I can't be here full time anymore. Like, I need something else. I didn't quite know what it was, but I was like, I am so effing done.
Yeah.
And by the way, I want to go back. I want to talk about. I'm really sorry about your experience. It sounds extremely traumatizing.
I don't know.
That is terrible with the daycare. Like,
oh my God,
that's every parent's nightmare. Like, it's hard enough to decide to do that in the first place. In Canada, we get a paid 1 year mat leave, or like I think a bit longer too. You can get sometimes an extension. Yeah, like that's so terrible. That is like that's not even enough for your downstairs mix-up or your C-section to heal. Like that's not even
my second baby. My husband, he's in the military. My second baby was born, and a day after she was born, he had to leave for 6 months. And it was the middle of winter in Pennsylvania. And while he was gone, I had to move our family from Pennsylvania to Georgia. I was maybe 2 weeks postpartum shoveling snow. I was like, well, there's a stitch. There goes another stitch.
Oh, you're a warrior.
Oh my God.
Seriously.
It wasn't like Canada snow, but we had like a solid 8 to 10 inches on the ground, like for the first time. Though in like 5 years we lived there, like January was just snow the whole time. And I was like, oh, this could time out better. Yeah, this seems right.
Yeah, great. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I want to talk about too, and what I've gone through with mentees is like some moms, like they one in particular, her name is Danielle and she's amazing. And she was like, I'm not sure if I really don't want to be a nurse anymore. Like I really don't. And she was like at this point. And so like, which is scary for a mentor, because you're like, they're gonna like change their life with what I say in this moment, possibly. And I don't want it to go wrong and have them blame me. Like, and then she's like, or should I go back to art school? I said, I'm in a mastermind group and 3 of them haven't gone to art school and they are doing very well. So I'm going to say no to spending $80,000 more dollars. You have 2 children, and whatever you need to know, you can just learn online and join groups and join communities and figure it out without taking 2 to 4 years more and spending like $60,000 to $100,000 or whatever it is you're doing, depending on what field you want to go into. But she wanted to be a studio artist and do portraiture and custom artwork. So I'm like, set up your space, get it to your space. And then she just took off and she's like, I'm obsessed. It's all I can think about. I can't wait. Like, I of course enjoy mothering, but this is for me. And this is for me. And I like wait for it every day. And when I get the kids in bed, I run downstairs and get to work. Like,
that's
so
amazing.
it has,
I think that's when you know you're doing the right thing. Like when you're that passionate and happy to do it, especially at the end of the night when you probably also want to just sit down.
Yeah. Like watch Grey's Anatomy and go to sleep and have a bath and wash your hair.
That was like when you were saying what you said, dinner time, like whether I'm exhausted or not, like kids aren't in bed yet, like that's my time. I make dinner nobody is allowed in the kitchen, and I watch whatever stupid show I decide to binge for the week.
Yeah, right? Like it can't be anything too serious.
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
at all.
And then,
And you know, and I want to talk about that too, is the routine of it all. And it's really important. And I'm sure you can attest to this. The routine with children. If you're in a like solid routine, and I teach this in my, I think, Getting Creative with Kids course. And I actually want to, I'm doing another course that I decided to do. It's not recorded, but I have it written. So it's all, that's my process of creating those classes. Is balancing motherhood and a creative career. And so I touched on it in our Getting Creative with Kids course, is balancing and routine. So the routine of like, and kids love it too. Like everything is almost the same every day. Like you have to hit sleep times, you have to hit meal times, or like you're setting up for complete disaster. And when you hit those beautiful golden routine times, and they're always changing and you have to change with them. But as soon as like, you know, when that baby's asleep, and like, for instance, I would have another child. So I would either create in the studio with them, or they were old enough for quiet time. So for the last year and how I wrote my book, Teddy was napping 3 hours in the afternoon. My other child would hang out with me in the studio. My other one was at school, and or have his own time. And like, then at night, same thing, routine bedtime, everything. It's like, that's when you can fit in the stuff. Like if you have some major goals,
yeah,
and you're like super obsessed with what you do, like I am, like stubbornly, grossly obsessed, you show up in those times, and you show up consistently. And that starts with like a really good routine.
yeah. And well, and I think too, like with that routine, I'm really bad at routines. Like I go through, and I have my whole life. Like my husband's military, and he's like, you know, like everything.
No, I disagree. You're fighting against him.
Yes, I'm just like, well, you know, like we'll see what happens. But when I get
I'm pretty flexible. Like I'm not a helicopter parent, but when it comes to like getting them to nap in the crib, it's like we'll be home for that.
Yeah. Well, my daughter, she's like finally on a nap, but my pickup time for my son, like her nap, she will not shift her nap time. I've tried, and if you miss it, she just won't sleep. She'll just be mad all day.
Yeah,
so she sleeps, and she wants to take like a 2 to 3 hour nap, but I have to wake her up to go get my son, and she doesn't go back to sleep ever. I'm just like, ugh. But like with the routine thing, I feel like when I have a routine, and it only takes me like one time to break it, and like all goes to hell, and I have to do it over again. But when I am so good with it, like I am mentally prepared for those times that I'm carving away to do things I want to do. And then I show up better, and I show up stronger, and I show up more clear-minded, opposed to just feeling chaotic and walking in and being like, well, I have all this to do, and now I'm in a bad mood because today was crazy.
Yeah, which does happen regularly.
Yes.
I'm going to say there are days where you were counting on time and you won't get it, which is really disappointing.
And then if you hang on to it too much, I've noticed I'll lose my mind more.
Yeah, so you just have to be like, you know what, today it really sucked, and all we can do is lay on the floor and eat popcorn and watch a movie together and snuggle. And I feel like I'm going to cry, so I'm just going to lay here with you, maybe shut my eyes, and that was today.
Yeah.
And that happens. It really does. And it's okay. And for us, like obviously as women, and I've been doing a lot of research and like binging audiobooks about this and stuff, with like cycling and moon cycle and all that stuff. It's like you have to almost book your calendar, because you know you're going to be a mental case at this same time. And you know not to book things around that time, because it's not going to work.
It's not reliable.
The day I got my cycle. And I actually want to find an expert on this. So if anyone knows an expert who would come on a podcast, like I would love to talk about this way more. Actually, I'm going to reach out to a few authors, because it can be a superpower. Like you can use it to your advantage. And honestly, like I had like I booked things on that day. Like I booked a brunch spin class thing with a friend, and like I couldn't mentally take it all, and the book launched, and it was supposed to be this nice day, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just
Can't even
really hard.
control
I
it.
should have just been resting.
Yeah.
And I knew it was coming and I knew it would happen, but I did it anyway. And it wasn't smart. But
Absolutely.
with my reading's coming up, and I checked my calendar and I was like, oh, of course it's still on.
No.
Same situation. Cool. I'm just gonna be crying in front of 50 people. Great. It might make it more impactful. Who knows?
It might.
Usually I just want to be in a cave.
Recent podcast where you started reading some of it, and I was tearing up. You were tearing up, and I was tearing up. It was really well written and just very, heavy.
I'm nervous.
So many people are going to connect with that. I haven't lost a parent, but I know so many people who have. And just the little bit I heard you read, it's people need to hear those feelings and know that other people have gone through that and felt that way. And I think more so with like maybe our parents' generation, it was very, you don't discuss that. You don't show those raw emotions and talk about it. But it's so powerful to do so, and it's so helpful to other people that it has to be done. Yeah, it was tough, and I'm really glad I did it. I think as far as growing as a person and viewing it as a gift, and when I say it's a gift, and I guess if you read my book, you'll understand it's a gift because we don't waste time around here. And like, I try not to sweat the small things. Like, my house is pretty disgusting at certain points. And I'm just like, we're not going to get it together right now. It's just not going to happen because we're at a season of our lives where they just don't really help clean, right? Nor will they ever probably, like, it's not going to be nice in here until they're gone out of my house, which who knows these days when that will happen, right? So, and just to I just put on slippers and walk on the crumbs. Yeah.
And then it really bothers my husband. Like, not that I do that. He's like moved past the thing. Like, I won't clean the floors because I'm just like, I could clean the floor 7 times a day. Yeah,
I was vacuuming the other day.
Waste of energy.
And our floors were like, I was walking.
They're embarrassing.
I'm in a movie theater. My feet are sticking.
I have the really nice moccasins, the leather ones.
That's all you need. So my daughter was following me behind me, and I turned around, and right where I vacuumed, she was just crunching Ritz crackers. And like everywhere I had been was just like covered in crumbs. I put it away. I was like, I'm done. What's the point? Yeah, they've learned to make their own popcorn, which really sucks. And they pour different sorts of things on it. And what did they do the other day? Oh, they decided they knew how to make caramel apples, except they don't. Oh.
They just put all the apples in the freezer in a bowl and poured maple syrup on them and stuck popsicle sticks into them.
In their defense, it was probably still pretty good.
Yeah, except for in the morning, they were all frozen apples. I'm like, what the fuck are these? And food is so expensive right now. We go through 3 bags of apples a week, and they're like $9 each because they're organic. And I'm just like,
ridiculous. I've gotten bad with meals where it's like, I got so tired of wasting food that I'm like, tell me what you'll eat. And then I give them like the tiniest bit of it. I'm like, you eat that, I'll give you seconds and thirds and fourths.
I give them like 1/3 of a scoop, and that's all they get for food.
I'm not giving you a plate of food to throw away after.
On the first kid, you're like, oh, that's like all half-eaten and gross, and the baby touched it or the kid. Now I'm like, that is my seconds.
Yeah.
That is 2 seconds there. Or husband, I never make him breakfast because I'm like, that's your breakfast. They've left, and it's so gross because it's like eggs with like ketchup and like half-eaten oats and
like everything that came back out of their mouths on.
I'm like, I put a lot of effort into all that, and I'm not throwing it out, and you're eating it. And he's rised above as well. Because I don't make him anything. Because I'm like, I'm done. And he, to be fair, doesn't fucking help. So
that's what you get then. You get leftovers that are very questionable.
Yeah, he gets the questionable leftovers, and you're gonna help make it, then we're not wasting this food.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got like, so I do want to hear about your journey more as well.
This is part of the journey.
Yeah.
Disgusting leftovers and crummy floors.
Oh my gosh, it's like 95% of the journey. So you started picking up the brush and you started with the sketchbook, and then you said you found what did you find of mine?
I came
Just
across this would have been 4 years ago. And I was laying in bed one night. I had just gotten back on social media. So I've been itching my nose. And I should have like been sleeping. And I was laying in bed and I was like back on Instagram. I was like, I'm just gonna scroll. And I was scrolling and I was back on social media, but I didn't want anyone to know it. So like I was only looking at like art stuff. I wasn't looking for like friends or anybody. So I was just like going down this black hole of artists. And I came across, it was I think it was like a picture of you painting with your son. I don't remember how many you had, maybe like 1 or 2 at the time.
Yeah, it might have been Gus and I doing our big 44 piece portrait series.
I think that's what it was. And I was just like, this is amazing. Like, she's so inspiring. And I had no idea who you were yet. Like, I went onto your Instagram page, and I mean, you had a lot of posts. And I mean, like, hours went by, and I was like staring at each one. I was like, I feel so inspired to like be a mom and be something more. And I didn't know, like at the time I was just doing watercolor because that was what you can pick up at the breakfast table.
Yeah.
No cleanup, you know?
It's so freeing and it's so easy and I love it. There's nothing wrong with watercolor.
I had the table, you know, I had the living room. And so I was doing that, but I had all the paints I bought in college because I would love to just like sit in my studio apartment, not my like art studio. And I had no idea what I was doing. Like, it was a lot of just like abstract, because I love just like spreading paint and playing in paint. Like, a room is better to me if there's paint splattered on the walls and furniture. Like, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
I had all this paint and I was always trying to do things, but trying to like, not that I wasn't wanting to bring my son into it, but almost feeling like I couldn't, or like I didn't know how to. And I saw you doing it and I was like, oh my gosh, like we can make this a thing where we have memories and like we create all this special stuff together. And so for the longest time, I had an old coffee table that was like 8 inches off the ground. So I took the marble top off of it and put it in the room, which is the wood top. And I would just buy canvases. And my son at this point was probably close to 1. Like, he was still holding on to the table. And we would just splatter paint and be reckless and have no direction with where we were going. I didn't know what, I still have some of them sitting here. Like, I've never touched them. They're just fun, like memories.
Oh, you have to frame them.
I have one right here, and I'm like, I don't think I will ever touch it. It's so cool, and I can like see him creating it. It's so that was really like seeing you be like that artist and that mom and do it in a way that involved your kids, so that because I always struggled with like, I don't want to lose time with them. You know, I don't want to go to bed at the end of the night and be like, I was home all day, but I didn't have any time with them, or like,
they watched Paw Patrol while I did this.
Yes, and there are those days. Like,
there's enough of it, that's for sure.
There are days where I'm like, oh, that's like 6 hours, but
yeah. My husband was logging the hours, and I was like, please don't.
No,
I don't want to hear the hours.
We have like the tablet where you can like set times on it, and it was like on the days where I'd try to like tackle something that I just needed them to be like occupied with, he'd bring it to me like, Mom, it locked me out from time. I was like, oh, here, let me add 4 more hours. Like,
yeah.
So much good this is.
Yeah.
But
no,
yeah, so
I couldn't control the timers. My husband did from his app on his phone, and I was like, geez. So then I had to like call and text, and yeah.
That's what Jeff needed to do.
It's supposed to help, but
I can't have the parental control password.
To be fair, and in our like very defense, my kids only stay focused for 7 to 15 minutes tops on a task.
Yeah.
So if I'm making cookies, they're like there for maybe 4 minutes, and they've asked me to make the cookies. So it's like a trick. It's like, Mom, let's make cookies together, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then it's like an hour and a half later, and I'm like, no one did anything. People just like ate it, and like ate the dough looking for the chocolate chips, and they left. And
Like, got you. I just
or
put
Teddy
butter and
spread it
sugar.
everywhere. Actually, Teddy's like super Klingon, like won't leave me alone ever.
That's hard. That's how Mara
Ever,
is.
like he escapes like from the bath to bedtime at least 3 or 4 times before like to like it. It's so cute. And like if he can't find me, he's like, Mama, love you. I'm like, I love you too. And like, so Gus knows how to make eggs, and he's 8. And so, and then I make oats because the other one was whatever. And Teddy also wants to make eggs. He's 3. So, but he wants to do everything. He's at that stage where he wants to do everything I'm doing, or someone else is doing. And so you just have to be patient because they're not always going to be like that, but it is a lot. So if something's going to distract my Klingon for 20 minutes, I'm going to use it here and there.
Like Mara, she is that way. And if I try to do anything, she's just like grabbing my pants, like, but in front of me. So I'm trying to walk and she's pushing. Yeah. And her word for up is uppy. And she's uppy, 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 uppy. And I'm just like, I just need to like take this from here and take it 5 feet over here.
No.
Oh my gosh, she had really bad postpartum for like a year after she was born, and she was colicky for like 9 months, and then cleaning. Chuck was gone for like 6 months. So I swear, I always tell Chuck, I'm like, I think things she does now that really shouldn't like make my blood rise so high. Like, I think there's like a trigger where it's just like, and I need to.
Yeah, no, it's sensory overwhelm, and I think we all have it. It's just like, you at some point in the day, you don't want to be touched anymore. And in the same breath, like, of course we love our children. Of course we are so happy they're healthy and happy. And, but two people to one person, or 3 people to one person, or whatever. I remember being alone with just one, and it was very lonely and isolating too, right? So
definitely,
it is a season, and it's like, and I always talk about it, it's like the most beautiful yet chaotic, challenging season of life. Like, it's the best one, but
I try to like embrace every moment, even when I'm
the best one. But everyone's like, oh, I wish I could be there, but you're like, and then you'd like be there for a day and go back, because.
But then sometimes I go to bed and I just am like, oh, I miss them. Like, that was a crazy day, but
it's so weird.
Someday they're not gonna want to cling on to me, and they're not gonna like be calling mommy for everything, and I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss that so bad.
Yeah.
So I try to
for sure. I let Teddy sleep with me, and I enjoy it.
Yes.
Like, you just know, and like, when I finished nursing, like, that was really hard because I knew it wasn't going to happen again. And I just loved that was like a meditation. I loved sitting in that room with the tiny baby, and the noises and the smells and the like connection that you have with them in that moment. Like, there is nothing like it. And by the end, when I knew it was getting close, I would just be in there crying. I'm going to cry now every time, because I knew that this moment would never, ever happen again. And I wrote about it a few times because I'm like, it's the most powerful connection on earth. And I actually, in one of my chapters in my book, I said, that's why women are like the salvation of the world. Like, we have. And Meryl Streep, I think, said too, she's like, women will save the world because they want it to be a better place for their children and their children's children. And there's no other greater connection or in the whole wide world than a mother to child. And so I just think it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's those moments are tough but I also don't want another baby. So that was my last moment.
Yeah.
Right.
There's going to be moments when they get older, I'm sure. Like, my mother-in-law always tells me, like, every age was her favorite age. Like, there's something she fell in love with at every age that she was.
It is.
I just quit nursing my daughter, and I was like 2. Before I stopped nursing, I was like 2 and done. I'm good. And it's been 3 months, and we're trying again.
Yeah.
Like,
They trick.
her hands and feet are getting big, and she's talking, and she's not nursing. I was like,
That's the stage where they trick you into another one because it's such a good stage. 1 to 2 is like,
it's my favorite.
it's the top one.
It's
I
so
think
fun.
because their personalities and the walking
the
and the
way their
talking.
bodies move.
Yeah,
I was
that's when
watching
they
her like
trick you.
stomp her feet and spin in circles today, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. 3 was such a, like, mentally, like, I don't think we could have taken, like, we can't take another one.
Yeah.
Just with the 3 boys of the energy, like,
Boys are their energy.
Oh my gosh, it's insane.
We always call my son a shark because, like, if you stop moving, like, you will die. Like, even if he can't stop thinking, like, talking, moving, something is always ticking. It's like, oh my gosh, 3 of them.
Something's always getting destroyed or dumped. That's for sure. Like, and that's why outside is the best, because they just destroy things. I don't know what it is. But there is, like, my niece will come over and she'll sit in here like 2 hours with me, and I'm like, she's still like into what I'm doing. No one does that with me. Yeah. Like, no one's interested unless I have a canvas on the floor and we're dumping all the paint I own onto the floor. So that's like,
it's like Ryder's current.
That's like $150 worth of paint right there in that afternoon.
He just got naked and dumped like everything on it and just like rolled around until it was like almost black, and then stood up. He's like, okay, I'm done, and just like ran out of the room.
Yep.
Paint flying everywhere, a little naked butt fly. I was like, good work. All right. Call it
in
a day.
Very black bathtub. I love that. And that's my favorite thing about creating with kids is that they give you these colors you would never mix together yourself. Like, never would I mix red and green. Yeah. Like, no art professor taught us let's just fuck it up a little and mix red and green together. Let's see what that does. Like, that didn't happen in my art education. And
well, then, if I do it, it's not going to turn out like that.
No, my kids educated me in so many ways in the studio. I learned a lot from them. Letting go, patience, the beauty of an uninhibited mark and uninhibited expression. There's so much to letting them in. And I think, what was it? The Arts to Hearts podcast had me on for a live interview about balancing motherhood and a creative career. And other artists were in there, and they're like, thank goodness you said that you didn't always have them around, because I thought I can't, like, I've tried and I can't do it. I have them in sometimes, and I'm like, no, like, they sleep or they do something else, and I have my own time to work. Like, don't feel like I'm some sort of saint, because I'm so far from that. Like, I just, social media shows all the good parts. That's why I tried to share some of the bad parts. Like, I can't show everything. Then I'll be like, but like, we're human, and but yeah, I love those underpaintings behind you.
It's so cute because if you look, like, there's like smeared like little footprints and like teeny little handprints. This is definitely a butt print right there.
But I always, like, at the same time when there's like a footprint or something, I'm just like, I have such a hard time painting over it.
That's why this has been here for a long time. I'm
like, it's and I have some from the Gus series still, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna get that back from my art collector. Like, I just, like, one is of, or two, I think, are of his dad or my partner, and they're cool, and I'm like, wouldn't that be cool for the, like, kids to have those one day? So next time he lives so far away from me though. So next time I'm down there, I'll probably, and they're huge. So I think, there's some things you let go of, and there's some things you just don't. And I think hopefully there's a few,
something so attached to it, which I'm sure
when they're in there with you with those moments.
Yeah. It's like, it's a capsule of time, especially when they have those imprints and those things where it's like, you can look at it and it's like that moment, like, you just remember it so clearly.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. But
And
that's
I've never
why
had a problem with just making more. I'm like, oh, I'll just make more.
see, I need to slow that down because I'm like still like emerging. And right now I'm so focused on like trying to find my direction and my style and just kind of learning skills right now so that
No. Don't stop. Just keep going.
I'm just going, but I need to like make more like I have to maintain pace with the money that's coming in and what I'm using up.
And supplies. Yeah. I hear that.
Because I'll catch myself like experimenting with something and I'm like, oh, that was a lot of materials that I just used for something that I'm definitely gonna like scrape off, and I knew I was gonna scrape it off.
Oh yes. Yeah.
But it's all learning. I tell myself every step forward is gonna be interesting, but it's forward.
Every painting hits an ugly stage
They
once
do.
or twice.
And sometimes they end there.
It's the way it is. It's just
Yes.
the way it is.
Yeah.
And Ellie Milan says, and she's one smart cookie, and she's been doing this for many years. And so she's the founder of Milan Institute.
She's the daughter. She's the mom, the mother.
Ellie is a mom,
Okay.
yeah. So she said, if you don't have 40 or more pieces, you're not in the game. Like if you don't have 40 or more, you're not in the game. So like either like your collectors have them, galleries have them, you have them. If you're just not, so
Producing.
get in the game. Keep making, and you'll learn things along the way. And then if you have an influx, you'll figure out how to sell them. It's not a big deal. You're
Right
just in a season of making.
Commissions is like funding my ability to just kind of create.
Right. That's actually what our theme was today. Thank you for, now that we have 10 minutes left.
Circle back around.
So actually Jenna took our portrait class and joined our community, and you have shared so much. So and you've started taking on custom artwork orders. And I'm actually, it's an editing, my custom artwork class to follow portrait class, because it is such an expander for studio artists and to expand your practice. And one main reason, the biggest thing is because your return client is your best client. On top of like word of mouth marketing. And so many opportunities have come out of custom artwork orders. And I know I talked about a season of burnout where I did like over 130 originals in 1 year, but it is actually the reason, number one, that I'm really well practiced, but number two, that I like have people coming back for bigger pieces or a piece for their friend or whatever, and I increase my prices. And it's the actual reason I have Art Academy, and that started with a custom artwork. So wow. it's like a second, like a lead magnet offer is like a workbook or something you're giving for free, or like a tips video or whatever you're giving for free. You're giving that to your audience and growing. And then what's like the next step up from there is like a print or original artwork or whatever. And then what's the next step up from there? And so people, so that's like your purchase funnel, if anyone's into marketing. So and I'm just learning about this too, so you can learn along with me. But like, so I actually am overhauling my website, and C, who runs Love Learn Dreams, she's like, okay, so like what comes after this? I was like, that was it. That was my top thing. She's like, no, you gotta have another.
Keep going.
I was like, okay, I can do that. Yeah, no, let's do it. I guess, okay, let's do it. I've got an idea. And so I'm like, okay, how many tiers do we have to make? Because like some things are very separate. Like my art world career business is a little bit different than like say working with mother artists and stuff like that. Like it's I would like it to be all together, but it's kind of separate. Sometimes it's together though. But
a lot of different hats right now. You're doing so many.
Yeah. I'm literally wearing a hat to cover my greasy hair, but
that's a big one. I lost half my hair postpartum.
Oh, it's beautiful. You look good. You just get to choose your hair every day.
I do.
Right?
It's like
fun.
my
I'm
winter
losing my
baby.
hair right now too.
It's
I'm not postpartum, so I don't fucking know why. So that's cool too.
Yeah, that's always just stressful, and then stress probably makes it worse. Which
I think I definitely. Well, I know my ferritin is low. This is a whole nother rabbit hole of topic, but like definitely my ferritin's low, and I'm working with a naturopath, so don't worry about me. Hopefully, my hair comes.
I hope it does.
Hopefully,
it's not a fun journey,
or it might not. A lot of women our age actually
it's more
struggle.
common than I realized. I mean, once it happened and I like accepted it and decided to like kind of like find power in it and not be ashamed, I felt better about myself, and I realized like so many people would be like, I'm dealing with that too.
Yeah.
Really, you want to trade wigs? I really like that.
Yeah, I like it. I've had lots of friends go through it.
Yeah.
And some just like not even with babies and not know why. And then one day they just didn't struggle with it anymore.
Yeah.
But a woman's hair changes 7 times in her lifetime. Like that's the average.
That's wild.
Like I came out with light curly hair. Like it's just like it's long and brown.
I had no idea. I've just had bad hair my whole life. I'm ready for my second phase.
Yeah, you might come out. Who knows what you'll get if you have a third baby?
Yeah,
it's a toss-up.
Another reason to try.
Toss-up. You might come out with ringlets. I don't know. Your new hair will come back in this beautiful way, or not, and you'll just rock what you got. Also, I think you'd look amazing with like a short or just like without.
So fun.
Yeah. No, like I love this woman. She was working at the MAC makeup counter, and she just had like taken it really like almost gone, but like just the like beginning of it was like purple, and she had neat makeup and like nice earrings. I was like, that is so cool. Right? Like, and she was rocking it hard. And
I think if you do it with confidence, you can just rock it. Like that creates such a, I mean, granted, like I felt my head, like I do not have the head shape to ever try that.
I have a weird small head. So yeah, I don't know if bald will be my thing.
It wouldn't work.
I don't know. I think you have the tone, like
maybe.
I think
haven't given you a profile view yet.
No, just don't show people the back. Just approach them from the front. No, you have beautiful dimples. I think you could do nice eyes, and you could do it. I think you could rock it.
But yeah, so everyone who's listening and losing their hair, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It does.
It's a
I think my friend I know she does like body image on Instagram, and she covers that topic really hard. But yeah, for a while there, she was wearing wigs too, because it was just after her, I can't remember, second or third. Yeah, it just didn't come back for like 2 years or something.
Yeah.
So,
crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have time left, but back to your funnel that we're.
Yeah, no, go back to the purchase funnel.
And wigs.
Hair loss purchase funnel. Yeah, no, go for it.
But yeah, your portrait class was like, it gave me the foundation for all these things. Like I wanted, like I love portraiture, but I would spend so much time trying to get it right that it was like just frustrating. And then, but it was so, I felt like there was so much time lost that I should be doing other parts of it. And the tricks and the tips that you gave in that class, I was like, that was when I opened up for commissions, is because I was like, wow, now I can do this efficiently. Mm-hmm. And I can be happy with what I'm creating enough to know like there's going to be consistency in how I feel about my work. Because, I never wanted to do commissions. It's like, well, I like this one, hate this one. Mm-hmm. So like your class just gave me so many tips and confidence to like build on. Mm-hmm. And I definitely I can completely 100% say I would not be, going back like 4 years when I found you, I would not be.
I had no idea
where I'm at. Like you have inspired me since forever.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I'm glad I accidentally thought you were coming on my podcast. I
know, it was
perfect. By the way, I had prepared it.
I was like, something happened that I totally don't remember.
And this goes back to not being good with names. So I had mixed up my Jennas, And I was prepping to interview you because for some reason in my head, that's who I was talking to on Instagram. And it wasn't. And I messaged Jen and I was like, so are you ready for today? And she's like, what am I getting ready for?
In my mind, I was like, oh my God.
It was two Jen D's. So Jen D and Jen D already came on. So
how do you say her last name?
Dwyer?
Dwyer? Okay.
Tough to say.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jen. I like her a lot. She's amazing.
Yes.
But yeah, she was so understanding. I had prepped to interview you and not her at all. So I was like looking on Instagram. I was like, oh, right. No, Jen. Yes, of course. I show with you at PXP Contemporary Gallery. Right. And we're in the Art Queens together. Right. Okay. Let's go.
Yes. Well,
yeah.
You're one step ahead for today.
No, this is why we got to chat. And I'm so happy because had that not happened, we wouldn't have set up this interview.
No.
So.
And I wrote back, I was like, well, that would be a dream. You're like, no, but really? I was like, oh my God.
Yay.
That was when I was like, I'm so out of my comfort zone and this is so good.
No, you're doing great. It's like you've been doing it forever. You're welcome to come on again and we'll actually talk about the topic we picked.
Right? Bullet notes. We will stick to the bullets.
I knew what the topic was the whole time, but I was just having such a good time that yeah, we should. We'll do a follow-up and talk all about how and you know what? You probably will have more to say by then because yes, that's how, so I didn't just like make up portrait class and all of a sudden decide that I could show people how to make portraits. I had developed that process over like a 10-year time. So 10 years of painting faces. And I found the most efficient and effective way to do it while you have, you know, life happening around you. And so you can do those custom orders, which help you grow and expand and grow your customer base. And become a better portrait artist. I had one woman who I had gifted it to a few people, but she was an artist and she's like, I feel like she had an accent. Sorry, I won't do the accent, but she's like, I don't know. And I was like, if you don't know, that's okay. Don't take it. And she's like, I could. I'm like, you know, it's just not. She's like, it looks efficient. I was like, because it is efficient. And she's like, well, people won't learn to draw. I was like, people are learning to draw because just like you said, it gives them the confidence to use the skills, and your skills grow when you're confident. And especially with artists,
show up and know that you can do what you want to do.
It's just making sure you got everything in the right spot. That's it.
I feel like every single profession is tips and tricks and things you do to be better and efficient at it. So why should
I don't know why as artists we're like, we must torture
ourselves.
Like the thing about using projectors. Hello, like Da Vinci used a form of a projector. Like that was a long effing time ago. We have the technology. Use it to your advantage because guess what? Your competitors and not really competitors, but if you want to get competitive, they're all using it. And people in the art world who you see that awesome whatever, they used most likely a projector.
Yeah. Well, even
they did that awesome giant mural of the face. They used a projector. I had Kevin Lito on.
Everything on top of that. It's not like the projection is an image. Like
it's not. It's like it's a tiny little sketch of an outline that is fully covered up at least 8 times after.
Right? Time, like things shift so much before they come back.
Right. It's like let go and let yourself be a human and give yourself a break and all that stuff. It's like fun and confidence, and
that's
it's supposed to be
fun back to it. Like I was so focused on like, okay, like I really try to focus on like I'm not trained. Like I try to pick up courses where I can from artists that inspire me and that I look up to, and even days where I'm just like on YouTube, like, oh, I'm gonna paint with this person, you know, we're gonna do a face together, whatever it is, because like everything I learn is one step forward. And right now that's all I forget where I was going with that before I like rambled about YouTube, but like every single thing is a technique and something you build on and you learn from, and then it's fun. opposed to sitting here and being frustrated and taking that out of it. You want to show up and you want to do it, and it's exciting.
And whatever that means to you.
What's that?
And whatever that means to you. Like, we all have different goals, and we all have different
if it excites
styles
you to spend all day like drawing a face, that's awesome. Like, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
I always start with like, I want this face to be like this, you know, like small on a paper. And by the time I get all the proportions right, it's like double that size. And I'm like, all right, we'll roll with it.
That's why my technique's so good. You're stuck to what you got going, and you can place it wherever you want. And it's like, it's good for, teaching composition for sure. And thinking about, and the cool part is with the underpaintings and negative space and all that, like, it's already laid out for you. Like, half the job is done, right?
Well, like what you said with getting better composition and whatnot. Like, in my sketchbook, I do it all by hand. You know, like, I'm drawing the faces. But the more I've been doing your technique, the better I am at looking at a picture and doing it, because I'm becoming familiar with the face and the planes.
The proportions of the face.
And so doing it your way so often is also making me better at just looking at a picture and drawing that image or that face.
I think it's a great place to start. Like, even if you're a professional already or doing it already, it's a good place to jump in and learn a new technique. But it's a really positive place to start. And I know, because I've started with young people and seeing them light up when they can draw something that they had no idea they could before.
As a young person, like, that's I can only imagine the light in their eyes when it's like, oh my God, I did that.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to give them like the rest of their life going forward.
You're going to show us how to draw a face in an hour. And then like seeing them come out of it, like, it's pretty darn cool. Yeah.
That's so
But it took a lot for me to get there, like, to share my process, because everyone's like, oh, you keep things to yourself and you
work so hard to get there and like come up with those things. Like, I'm
and then I was like,
you shared,
finally, I was like, no one's is gonna look like mine at all. Like, at all. And they don't.
Interesting. I love watching the community on Facebook, because it's so interesting, especially the animal ones of the artists who have taken that course and do animals. Like, I don't know what it is about animals. Like, I just joke, I've tried, and I'm like, this is just, let's go back to basics.
Fur is a challenge.
They're incredible, but they're completely different.
Anastasia, what's her last name?
And she just there was a horse recently that you shared, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, she is insane. It'll pop right up.
But it's so fascinating to see how that process turns out for so many different people.
But she's so sweet, because she every time she posts, she said, like, this is started with Brandy Hofer's technique, which, you know, I see other people out there, and that's fine too. I don't expect that. But she's so kind, because every time she's like, this started with her technique. And like, it's all come super far from where I know she started, because she loves like to take it so much further than I do. And that's what I'm saying. Like, everyone's is so different. But I have it posted. Like, I have a post in the community and stuff. But yeah, she does.
I'm going to look. I think that might be who I'm thinking of. I'm going to have to look now.
Yeah.
I always go into something with like, I'm going to do like less is more this time. And by the end, like, everything's like 12 layers thick.
This is insane. I don't make anything that looks anything
incredible.
like that, and it's incredible. And she's amazing, and that is what's possible. And so she has taken it so much further. I think she does acrylics. She might even, so if you take it to an acrylic stage, you can even start adding oil on top.
Yeah,
because there's so much acrylic and there's so much stuff underneath that you don't have to worry about it eating through your paper or anything like that.
Not right now. I like rarely take out a brush, because I love being able to just like sit down and walk away. Like, I feel like otherwise I'm always painting.
I was talking about that.
And I come back, I'm like, oh, awesome.
And if my kids get into the oils, it's like such a pain. I had Michelle Lake on, and she's a professional artist, and she's back into oils because she's done having kids. And I was like, I sometimes take them out, but it's
hard. It's really,
I need things to dry now, like in an hour, and come back and be able to do them. And I can't leave oils out, or anything, and like clean brushes and all that stuff. Like I love the look of oils, but I just can't right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like varnishing, which I never really did before.
I
like
was gonna
very much,
ask because
and
I saw you varnishing something recently on Instagram
massive.
shared, and I forget it was a big piece that you just finished. I think it was the woman.
Yeah.
I'm sure you shared a name of it.
Yeah, and I called her Augustina.
Yeah.
She's such a queen. She's getting like this rose silver frame, and she's
can't wait
full
to
of gold.
see
I
it.
just rolled her because she's finished. I'm waiting for the framing to come in, and then I'm going to stretch her.
Okay, I'm gonna say you stretch them. But what mediums is she? What have you used on her?
She's acrylic. She's
Okay.
acrylic. I got some like nice golden, like the golden and stuff like that, and I thought about oils, but honestly some of mine are expired, so I was like, I just don't have time. And so what I actually used a lot of mixed media in there. I used acrylics. I even used Posca pens to get like some pattern work. But the thing is, if you're varnishing, watch out. So all my black lines, because it's just like more freeing to draw with a Posca pen.
Yeah.
I'm also doing, and I haven't recorded it yet, but I've taken all the footage, a large scale portraiture class, because like that's all how I mix the mediums. Because when I'm talking to other artists, we get super geeky and it just ends up like this big conversation. So I was like, I have to write this down and put it in a thing. But with the Posca pens, you can spray it with fixative, so then you have to let it dry for 24 hours, especially if you're using it for murals. And you can't just varnish right over it because it will like bleed and smudge.
Yeah, that's why
like a nightmare.
It's like immediately I was like, I need to know how she's doing this.
Yeah, so we spray it with a workable fixative. I wouldn't do it with you could probably do it with the final fixative, and the varnish would be fine on it.
Yeah.
Clearly I just chance it most of the time. But yeah, and it's stinky, so you should do it outside. I have a ventilated studio, and even then it was pretty stinky.
I have one of those big masks.
Well, then it's in your house for like a day. So I do like when I have one behind me that I am working on right now, a custom piece, a big one. And she wanted it like a piece I did in 2015 for Sarah Baumler for HGTV. And I used chalk pastels in it. So like those,
even with fixative, it would still smear.
Right? So I'll be taking her outside and like spray fixing on like hard. That's what I did last time.
And it worked
like,
enough to
it worked. I didn't varnish it.
Okay.
But I rolled it up and sent it in, and it was fine.
Oh,
but
wow.
This time I will spray and varnish hard, because she'll be rolled up again and going all the way to Texas from Canada. So I just want to make sure she's safe. But like I couldn't get those same marks that she wants in this painting. Like she wants it a certain way, and I can't. I was like, how can I like make that same gesture with those same? I'm like, I can't. I have to use chalk pastels again, which I don't anymore because they're you don't paint with them really. Like they're a pain in the ass, and I'll be using gold leaf and all this stuff like that. And so
I always get excited to add my chalk pastel, and then I'm also always like frustrated with it in the end because I'll get something right. I always end up smudging it, or I get excited about something and I forget I just added this detail down here, and like before I know it, my hand like moved it.
Yeah. So what I do with that now is just use it in the beginning stages, especially for like pops of skin tone and color, and then I come over top with more Prismacolors and more. You know what you can do too with skin tone and in the portrait class, and I don't think I touched on it in the portrait class, but I've answered a lot of these questions, is letting it dry overnight. So having the oil pastel dry overnight and then coming at it again with another layer. And
that out.
Senneliers. Do you need to get some Senneliers?
That's what I have.
Okay, good.
That's what I have, and
they're the best.
My husband's always like, step away, because I'm like, it's like just step away, And I'm like, you're right. If I come back tomorrow, then I can get what I want in without just like smearing, like everything's mixing.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, sometimes you can get too heavy. And then I just,
and I scrape.
you know what I do? Yeah. I scrape it off and then it is kind of there and it's kind of part of the process. I don't know. It's something weird about it.
Yeah. And every single one is cool in its own way. So I'm like, I learned so much from you.
Yeah.
that I'm not going to do or I am going to do on the next one.
That was, and early on when I got approached, I said yes to like everything. Like you wouldn't find me say no. Only recently have I started being like, well, I don't think so. Because I'm actually to the point where, I am just directing people to other artists.
Yeah.
Because it's all I can do.
Because you said yes to everything. Like,
oh, for sure.
You have to take every opportunity. And I'm like kicking my own butt because I'm like, I need to do that. I need to be braver.
Oh, you're brave. You'll be fine and you'll do really well and you'll thrive. Yes. And it's just like, you just throw a bunch of spaghetti on a wall, see what sticks, see what you like, see what you don't like, and then you do get to say no once you figure that out. And So even we were planning next year and the year after, and I was like, that I won't be doing anymore. And that's that, because I won't have time. And then after that, and in 5 years, I want to say no to a whole bunch more stuff.
Yeah. That's exciting.
I hope anyway. That's the plan. And yesterday he was like, well, you don't want to do the podcast because it's taking up time? I was like, no, I was just saying it takes up a lot of time. I'm not saying I want to stop doing it, because that is how I connect to people, like on a different level. And yes, it's probably the most time consuming part of my week, with editing myself and communicating with guests and like sitting down and whatever, but like also it's my time to meet amazing people like you.
I'm so excited. I'm so happy we could do this.
Yeah. If I didn't have a podcast, we would have never.
No.
So it's like two birds in one stone.
Like,
I love
you have stuff at U of A.
Yeah. I love, because it's my way of making friends. Like it really is like it's so cool that like the time and the exhaustion is worth it.
Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, I love, like, I find when I'm like, okay, I need to get into the mindset and like I need to get in there. I need to get into the studio. That's what I do. I listen to artists on podcasts, whether they're talking about art or anything. It's like, that's where I find like that motivation and that push is like listening to other people who are also talking about the same things, whether it's they're 1,000 steps ahead of me in the process or not even relevant to me, but on a journey, like.
Yeah, there's always something to take away from a conversation.
Yeah.
There was things for me to take away from this conversation. Like it's one of the coolest ways we communicate now, and I'm so grateful for it. I wouldn't be where I was without, finding this person or this person's podcast, or finding this community through this podcast, or talk about portraiture too and large scale materials, all of that stuff. But mainly we can focus on documenting work and custom artwork, because that I think is just such a good start. If you're into portraiture, of course, or doing custom orders. So we will follow up with that, either a place where people can join and ask questions too, and we will release it on the podcast. And we'll have it up. It'll be good.
People ask such good questions. I'm always like, why didn't I think of that? Yeah, someone have a great answer for that.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
No, okay. I find on all those things now, like in meetings, and I said this to my website designer yesterday. I was like, I join these meetings where you're supposed to get help, and I end up answering everyone's questions. I'm just like, hi, actually, can I help them with that?
I love that.
I love your answer. It's so beautiful. Thank you. And I'm like, I would also love to help. So
someone did that on your page recently. I posted something, and I don't remember if I asked about, but they gave me a tip, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that was driving me nuts, and you just told me how to fix that. And I was like, thank you for
really. I missed that. I'm trying to be good, but for some reason, like things are getting hidden in amongst all of the comments. So I'm like missing from time to time.
It's a lot.
And I always have notifications off. So then I comb through to see if I need to answer someone back. So sorry, everyone, if I've missed anything ever. I don't mean to at all. Like I always answer everyone back in direct messages and comments. So if I missed you, it was not on purpose.
You're better at responding than I am, and I don't have.
You have to
Constant
respond.
friends.
That's part of saying yes. Because if you don't get back to the people,
text me and I'll read
you
it.
don't get the job.
Yeah, I don't have the mental capacity. Like I'll text you back in 2 days.
Yeah. Oh, I have to, because there's a point where it gets to be so many that I know if I don't, then I won't.
It piles up.
So I have to answer like immediately.
Yeah.
Which doesn't always work with kids. But
yeah. All right.
If you have a blocked part of your day for answering messages,
I'm gonna try to focus back on my routine. We had family in town, and then my back was all effed up, and I just was like, "Yeah, we're just gonna call it a wash for the month of November."
Yeah. November took up 4 pages in my planner. No, 4 sections, so that's 8 pages.
Was that packed?
That was November. I don't want to do that again.
It's just, and I'm sure December's crazy.
Yeah, it's
piles on.
not as bad. I'm just ignoring it. That's a perfect way to cope. Did you know? If you just ignore it,
it does go away.
No, I actually didn't take any orders. I just have this one, so I didn't take any. Everything's like a non-rush. So that's what you can do too, guys.
Well,
if you get full. If you just get full, there's a 3-month waiting period. Depends how proficient you are, but we can. We'll really follow apart on like the focus of.
When we'll focus.
We'll focus next time. This is great. I had a really great time. Thanks for being here. It was super nice to meet you.
I'm so glad I finally met you. This was awesome. So yes, looking forward to doing it again. And
thank you for being so open and raw and honest too.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
It was fun.
And keep showing up.
I will.
And sharing parts of your life.
Yeah.
Because it's great. I love it.
Every day is a different story, but there's all the same goal in the end.
Yeah, exactly. Always come back to our creativity.
Yes, that's what keeps me going. It really is. Keeps my sanity.
Oh my gosh. Okay, friend. Get some sleep. Get some sleep. Are you an hour ahead or behind?
It is, I think 2. It's 11.
It's 11 o'clock at night there?
Yeah, I would be up.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'll let you go. Oh my gosh, that's so late. Go to bed.
That's my function. I hate mornings. I've tried to turn myself on to mornings, and so I've decided I'm just gonna forever hate mornings and embrace my nights.
I guess.
That's where I'm at. So I would be up anyway. So
Okay. Good night.
Well, have a good night. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
There we go. Thank you for listening. And again, you can join our free Color Me Happy community anytime. It is a supportive community grown out of just wanting more friends. No, I'm just kidding. I love how supportive the community is, and I love how everyone shares. And even if you're not an artist, you can share your thoughts. You can share if you have questions, or if you're just getting into creativity, like Jenna was. Like she thought she had to stop, like so many mothers do. And that's like the most consistent question and reach out I get from social media from then until now is, I'm not sure how you're doing that. And I say, I'm not sure either. No. I always tell them to read all these books, and I think that's actually what led to my book eventually anyway, was like, wow, I gotta stop answering every person personally and sending voice notes. It's taking up a lot of time, but I just want to help. I don't know, I have to answer back. And so join the community, reach out, find some friends in there, and check out all of the things we have to offer. Of course, there's portrait class, there's getting creative with kids, which in that course I really talk about balancing life and relishing in moments. So it's a really beautiful course if you want to just start getting creative at home with your kids. It's like a really great place to start. And then if you're looking to do portraiture, and then soon we will have our custom artwork course out and available as well. which I'm very excited about. Pick up a book. It comes with a free audio download. Color Me Happy, See Your Everyday Ordinary is Extraordinary. I'm so darn proud of it, and it's been far too long since it came out, or that it took forever. That's what I'm trying to say. It took forever. And so many things happened between then and now. When I first started writing the book, I didn't even have a podcast or a community. And it's been such a beautiful journey. And at the beginning, I still can't string sentences together, but for some reason, people still listen. So thank you for being one of those wonderful people. And thank you to our sponsors, Red Bicycle Communications and Nouveau Laser and Aesthetic Centers and Oasis Hot Yoga and Spin Studio. We have our wonderful myths and facts from Nouveau, Vanessa's the best at Nouveau, but she always gets mad at me over this, which someone needs to, because I need to stop. And I could watch these videos forever, but I'm going to talk about it. It's gross, but everyone has it, does it, or doesn't do it. Popping pimples. This is their myth. Popping pimples makes them go away faster. They don't. I don't even have to read the fact. Oh, the scars and the fun. Okay, so fact, picking and popping pimples causes more damage. No kidding. More inflammation, infection, and more acne can result in scarring. Try icing your skin several times a day to help reduce the inflammation. Do not apply makeup directly over the already irritated skin. Use a tinted SPF. I have a tinted SPF, and I love it. It actually works better than my makeup. And I have tried, again, if you listen, you know I'm not super into makeup. I don't have time to do it in the morning. And it's called Color Science, and they sell it at Nouveau. And it's tinted SPF, and it works better. And I've tried MAC makeup, and what was this new one I tried? Merit. Because my friend, she's an influencer, and she was like, this is the best makeup. That I was like, okay, and I got it. And it is the best, but the tinted SPF matches my skin better and covers it up more, and it's just an SPF than the cover up. So that is insane, and they're out of stock. And as soon as I get back in, I'm getting 6, because when you find something you love, stockpile it, right? Anyway, I have to go because this is such a long episode already. And I hope you have a wonderful December. Try to milk the moments, because we all get caught up in the rigmarole and we can get lost in the stress. And I am looking at 20 balloons on my floor and a bunch of crap and a yoga mat and so much garbage. And I'm just trying not to care, because what's the point? What is the point? It will get cleaned or not. Today, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Or you know what? I'll wait and make them do it. Kind of. They do it sometimes. Anyway, I'm just gonna keep going and just put on my slippers and walk through the mess. Okay, thank you for being here, friend. Take care of yourself. If you're looking for some time for yourself to relax, release, and unwind, Oasis has the perfect space for you. They offer yoga and spin classes of all levels. Whether you are a beginner or advanced student, Oasis thrives on accommodating all aspects of the practice. Let their serene environment and gracious staff help you in your journey of peace, healing, and strength. Sign up online at www.oasishotyogastudio.com or by downloading the Oasis Hot Yoga Studio app. Feel like yourself. You deserve it.